What is good, everybody? I'm Fox at FOXY Games UK, covering the latest video game news, rumour and discussion. Follow me via Twitter at FOXYGames_UK. Remember, some of the views expressed in our videos are those of third parties and do not necessarily represent the views of FOXY Games UK. All relevant links can be found in this video's description. No time to waste in our first news story. CD Projekt Red has finally delivered the PS4 Pro 4K support patch for The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. A major shout out to Craig Harris for the heads up, courtesy of usgamer.net. So after its promise of a new patch for The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, developer CD Projekt Red has finally delivered. The new patch update 1.50 and 1.51 add support for the PlayStation 4 Pro. The full scope of the patch is unclear, you'll have to check with Digital Foundry, but the patch is just over 100 megabytes and should offer 4K resolution support to all PS4 Pro owners. There does not seem to be an option for 60 frames per second if that's what you were hoping for. Now, the patch was promised earlier this year in a tweet and a statement to Eurogamer.net. Here's a quote. "I can confirm that we are working both on Xbox One X and PS4 Pro patches for The Witcher 3. No extra details at this moment, more info is coming," and come it did. CD Projekt Red President Adam Szysinski further confirmed the update in early September during the company's half-year presentation. At the time, the patch was supposed to be out in a few days, but CD Projekt Red ended up missing that soft deadline by a few weeks. "We've prepared a 4K version which will be available on PlayStation 4 Pro in just a few days, and by the end of the year it will be available on Xbox One X," Szysinski said at the time. Now, the Xbox One X will be launching on November 7. Since CD Projekt Red missed a few days deadline, perhaps they're also prepared the Xbox One X update in time for launch. Let us all hope so. And in other news, a huge thanks to Kratos, aka J-Dub City, for the heads up on this one. Seems Microsoft's first-party studio developer of the Forza series Turn 10 has taken a turn for the worst, at least in the case of the studio's 7th entry into the highly acclaimed long-running motorsport racing sim. The article is headlined, "Forza 7 feels like a free-to-play game you paid $60 to play." Here's the full story. Forza 7 is a $60 game with monetization systems that have no business being in a full-price game. Forza 7 came out this week for players who could only afford the $60 version. Now, if you opted for the $100 Ultimate Edition, you may have already been playing since as early as Friday. Unfortunately, you may have fallen foul to over 150 gigabytes of combined failed downloads, just like the author of this very article, who claims to have had to sort out the use of third-party download managers to get around the Windows Store's incomprehensible inadequacy, finally being able to install the game a whole day after purchase. So already off to a messy start then, but unfortunately for Forza 7, failed downloads are the least of its problems, and that's saying a lot if you've ever dealt with the streaming pile that is the Windows Store. With every new Forza release, the stench of immoral monetization schemes rises ever so slightly to the top, slowly suffocating an exceptional racing game. So this year it's gotten too close to souring on what is otherwise an excellent game. Turn 10 made two major changes in Forza 7 that I can only imagine exist for no reason other than pushing the business of microtransactions one step further without offering anything in return. The battle against micropayments in AAA games is a lost one, this much is clear, but we're getting dangerously close to a nightmare scenario where games cost money up front, so you have to really have the privilege of spending more money later. The past few Forza games used an ingenious system that rewarded players more in-game credits the more handling assists they turned off. Now the system took into the account the number of rewinds you used in a race and the AI difficulty that you may have set. Because of all those settings really could always be changed prior to the start of every race, myself and many others played around with them to maximize profits. Now, the idea was to reward players who opt for the more challenging route, even if they're only doing it for a race they know they can win, without sacrificing the accessibility that makes the game enjoyable in the first place. Credits were plentiful, and the game offered you an option to earn even more if you're willing to get better. It's a win-win, and it was loved by the Forza fans. Now, because everything in Forza games is bought with credits, you always have had a clear progression path towards getting your favourite cars. Later iterations such as Forza 6 even threw in a mod system that added another layer to an already rewarding system. In every one of these games, Microsoft introduced tokens bought with real-world money shortly after launch. I never felt the need to buy them simply because there were many ways to earn credits by just simply playing. Owners of the VIP DLC would have even more to play with thanks to the pass granting 100% more credits after every race. But this year things were not as Forza fans expected. Some thought Forza 7 had done away with the credit reward system, though I can confirm you can still earn credits for higher difficulty settings or less assists. Playing with all assists engaged against the easiest AI nets you the same amount of credits as the player who chose no assists, though higher difficulties do reward more, the rest do not. The game never explains why this happened, and Turn 10 has, to my knowledge, not communicated this major change prior to launch. The issue is that the system wasn't replaced by an equally rewarding one, or even a different one. Turn 10 just took away a big source of income for all players. Now sure, you can find mod cards that award extra credits by turning off certain assists. You know, the thing that you use to toggle in the menu, but even these are consumables with limited uses that depend on their rarities. Naturally, you need to spend credits to get these mods, and it's not a guarantee either, since they're only found in blind loot boxes. The VIP membership, something only the most avid fans bought, it's also part of the Ultimate Edition, has lost its unlimited 100% credit reward bonus. Instead, what VIP's owners got was 5 mod cards for a 100% credit bonus, but each card only has 5 uses, so instead of a flat increase for the life of the game, you basically get the bonus for your first 25 races. And so in one move, Turn 10 hit its both casual and most dedicated audiences, cutting their income by a significant factor. The developer has already confirmed to Ars Technica that you'll soon be able to spend real money on tokens, which can then be turned into in-game credits. Both changes have effectively made Forza 7 less rewarding for all players. In a game that flaunts a roster of 700 plus cars, you're not really being incentivized to collect as many as you can. You'll barely have enough to buy the cars you actually want, and if all of that wasn't depressing enough, cars in Forza 7 are arranged in tiers, creating another terrible situation. If your profile level is only up to the 2nd tier, you won't be able to buy a tier 4 car even if you can afford it. You have to buy more cars that you likely don't even want to bump up your car level so you can get through this arbitrary system and actually buy the cars you do want. Of course, by the time you get there, you'll have spent most of what you have saved up on trash. This is free-to-play-like design of artificial inflation and arbitrary money sinks that all get in the way of fun. This creates a lot of concern about the future of the series and Microsoft's games in general. If it wasn't clear before, the cards and blind loot box schemes have been in every first-party game in the last few years, and it's no doubt mandated at a corporate level. Introducing new systems that cleverly work microtransactions into games without affecting the core gameplay is something myself and many others have and continue to tolerate, but this is not what Forza 7 is doing. Turn 10 is literally taking away sources of in-game credits that existed before and replacing them with microtransactions. And that's where this news piece article ends. So here's the thing. I struggle to comprehend why anyone is remotely surprised by this. I mean, Microsoft have made it no secret they fully intend to turn their franchises and IP into a service. The outrage comes a little too late. We all knew full well since the beginning of this year, perhaps further back even, that Microsoft Studios were looking to make as much moolah selling $60 games and even adding in microtransactions. Far as challenging this type of business model, many gamers were instead singing Microsoft's praises, and for those unified in rejecting microtransactions, too many others are all too willing to support it. The Forza games are always mostly excellent, offering far more content than, say, Gran Turismo has in recent times, though it has to be said, like most things in life, you'll continue to get exactly what you're willing to put up with, and in Forza 7's case, and probably in a lot more of Microsoft's IP, that, I'm afraid, is poorly implemented microtransactions. But let us know your thoughts in the comments. And in other news, a few tidbits. Firstly, PS4 Pro is getting a minor hardware update. Sony Interactive Entertainment is updating its PS4 Pro, changing the model CUH7000 to CUH7100, also featuring a minor update to the internal components. But fear not, there are no discernible differences other than Sony have managed to reduce component costs for the units and are probably using similar, perhaps cheaper components. I highly doubt this new model will drastically reduce power consumption or lower the sometimes obtrusive fan noise. Sony have always had issues with fan noise with their consoles, usually solving the noise pollutant in much later iterations of PlayStation hardware. Same can be said for PlayStation VR, now getting a slight makeover in the processor unit, less fiddly wires and able to allow HDR pass-through direct through your Full HD TV or even ultra high definition one without having to unplug anything. This does not mean the new PlayStation VR model will support HDR via the actual unit itself, as some have incorrectly reported, but still. This was a major sticking point and complaint for early PlayStation VR adopters with 4K HDR TVs, so it's great that Sony have listened to feedback. And Sony Interactive President and CEO Andrew House is leaving Sony after 27 years service to the brand. House cited new challenges and that the PS4 is in a great place as reasons for moving on. House will be replaced by John Kadira, who has been with Sony since 1992, during a time in which Sony's principal industry was focused on electronics such as televisions, general consumer electronics and optical discs. Of course, the era marked an important period of transition for Sony, as President Noria Oga worked closely with legendary engineer Ken Kataragi to convince the board of directors that Sony should compete for business in the up-and-coming video game sector. Though Kadira himself began his own career working on Sony's portable audio devices, specifically in business planning based in Tokyo for 6 years before coming to the US. Most recently and most relevant to Sony PlayStation, Kadira joined Sony Network Entertainment International as a senior vice president and was later promoted to president in April 2013, working on network services related to the PlayStation 3, PS Vita and PS4. He instituted his vision, strategy and execution. Kadira has been Andrew House's deputy since the last year, so it's no stranger to the role he's assuming. Here's what he had to say. It's a great honor to take on the role of President and CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment, and I'm very grateful to Kaz and Andy for the trust and faith they have shown in me. I intend to build on the amazing progress Andy has made enhancing the PlayStation brand and expanding the game and network services businesses. I will strive to further strengthen the unique value proposition we are able to offer via the PlayStation platform. Kadira is a huge fan of portable gaming, and yes, that obviously includes the PlayStation Vita. So somewhere down the road, we may even see the possibility that Sony looks into a Vita successor. And that's in spite of Andrew House recently stating Sony had no plans to re-enter into the portable business. And moving on to our final news segment of the video, courtesy of WCCFtech.com. According to an analyst, Xbox One X is a great deal at $499, predicting as many as 4 million Xbox One X's will ship through 2018 and a slightly higher 5 million for PS4 Pro. Here's the full story. Microsoft's Xbox One X is now little over a month away from being launched in stores globally, delivering the most powerful hardware ever seen among consoles so far. Microsoft is hoping to make a dent into Sony's leadership position in the console market. But can the Xbox One X actually do that? Lewis Ward, IDC Research Director for Gaming, Virtual and Augmented Reality, was interviewed by GamesTM in their latest issue as part of a larger feature on the upcoming console. Here's a quote. "No, the Xbox One X won't be enough for Microsoft to catch up. It should give PlayStation 4 Pro a run for its money in 2018 in the US and the UK, however. I'm projecting about 4 million Xbox One X consoles shipped from Q4 2017 through to the end of 2018 and about 5 million PlayStation 4 Pro consoles shipped in the same time frame. The way shipments break down globally, however, that implies a very tight race in the US and UK. Preliminary analysis of the Q3 2017 US Gamer Survey shows that about 20% of Xbox One owners use one or both EA Access and or Xbox Game Pass. That's a good attach rate in my book, given that these services are still fairly young and aren't cheap." Ward revealing the IDC data points to both EA Access and Xbox Game Pass being quite healthy on Xbox One, but perhaps the biggest hurdle for many customers will be the Xbox One X's high price. As previously stated though, the price isn't high at all when you look at the specifications. Lewis Ward agrees with this following sentiment. "Well, they may well be losing money on the hardware out of the gate. Our component teardowns suggested at retail of at least $600, so yes, it's expensive relative to traditional home console norms, and yes, that will cause some people not to buy it, but given the hardware specifications, I think $500 is a great deal." And there you have it. Great news if those predicted numbers become reality. The Xbox One X will launch in most countries November 7th. Will you be getting one? Be sure to let us know in the comments. And that sadly brings us to the end of another video. But let's continue the discussion. Share your thoughts on all of today's top news stories in the video comments. For more PS4, Switch and Xbox news, subscribe to FOXY Games UK. As usual, if you found any of the information in this video at all useful, hit the like button and help us reach more like-minded gamers by sharing the video. And you can also help the FOXY Games UK channel grow via Patreon. We offer just a one-tier $1 pledge option. You can find the link in the description. Thanks for all and any support. And there you have it. Until next time, remember, play games, not corporations.